Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Hello, good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the home of the Platte Canyon Fire Protection District. Now, I need to start with a little order of business. As you may have noticed, the bathrooms are blocked off. They have a little septic problem here for the last 2 months, and it only took about $110,000 to repair it. So if you need to go to the restroom, there's porta potties right outside the door. We ask that you go outside and around. If you're unable to use the restroom out there because you have a wheelchair or can't make it, we can unlock one of the restrooms for you. That's only for a few people. We're trying to keep the number of people down. My name is Rob Green, and I'm the president of the Platte Canyon Area Chamber of Commerce. In our 3-year strategic plan for the chamber, our purpose is to build community by advocating, educating, and promoting the businesses and people of the Platte Canyon area. Our vision is that the chamber is recognized as the leader in providing community resources and development for our businesses and people. To that end, we have here tonight a community forum that's sponsored by both the Platte Canyon Area Chamber of Commerce and the South Park Area Chamber of Commerce in conjunction with the League of Women Voters. This is your opportunity to hear from those that are seeking office in Park County. As our chamber is nonpartisan, we have partnered with the League of Women Voters, a well-known and established nonpartisan organization, to be the moderators tonight of our forum. In the past, the League has hosted presidential debates that were focused solely on nonpartisan issues to inform and educate voters. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the president of the newly formed Park County League of Women Voters, Charlotte Mathias.
Just to let the candidates know, we've been trying to figure out how best to do this so that we can record. And so what we will do is, as I ask the questions, I will let you know who needs to come up and answer. And we'll move this chair. Thank you to the 2 chambers for inviting the League of Women Voters to do this candidate forum. Many of you may remember that we did a forum 4 years ago that Jefferson County League of Women Voters moderated for us because we didn't have a league. And I was rather inspired, but it took a while for me to clear my plate of other things. I could gather folks to start the league here in our county. The Chamber of Commerce of South Park and Platte Canyon and the League of Women Voters welcome all of you to the Park County Candidate Forum, featuring candidates for our county commissioner, treasurer, sheriff, who are all seated here answering questions for us tonight. I am Charlotte Mathias, and I will be moderating the forum. I am especially honored to introduce Beth Hendricks. Beth, would stand and say hi. Beth is the executive director of the League of Women Voters of Colorado. And her support in forming our Park County League and her guidance in creating this forum, I appreciate ever so much. The mission of the League of Women Voters is to empower voters and defend democracy. The League of Women Voters was founded over 100 years ago, helping to secure women's rights to vote, the 19th Amendment. And as important as the right to vote, the founders understood that making an informed vote was equally important. Candidate forums such as this are part of voter education promoted by the League. Goal of this forum is to provide candidates the opportunity to present their views in a fair, nonpartisan setting so that you, the voter, can make an informed voting decision. Provide our citizens, you all, an opportunity to ask questions. You received index cards and pencils as you came in so that you can write your questions. Please note on the card which office or candidate we're directing the question. Your question cards will be picked up prior to starting the prepared questions. So be sure that you get your questions written so that when my services people come around, you will have your questions ready to be picked up. The views expressed this evening will be those of the candidates, not of the League nor the Chambers of Commerce. The League does not support nor oppose candidates nor political parties. Besides the candidates for the aforementioned races tonight, we welcome and invite the candidates for office that are unopposed to share a 1-minute self-introduction. Please come forward to the microphone to make your introductions. I'm going to start with David because he's on call, and as the coroner, unfortunately, he has a possibly busy schedule. Yeah.
Thank you very much. My name is Dave Kentz, and I'm in 12th year as your Park County Coroner. Some of you here know me, some do not. I live in Fairplay, where I'm raising my children, ages 6 to 16. I have 4 of them. So a little bit about me is I'm dad. That's who I am. But for money, I'm your county coroner. I have a passion for being your coroner. I've been in emergency services for 19 years here in Park County, and in my 12th year, like I said, at the coroner's office. I'm a board certified death investigator by the American Board of Medical Legal Death Investigation. I also have steered our office to the smallest accredited coroner's office in the United States and the only accredited agency. I'm very proud of those accomplishments. I have a great staff of people that have been very loyal to our agency and to our citizens. I also have volunteer corps of 15 that come out to support our families and support our witnesses and friends when a deceased individual happens. So I'd like your support, and you can visit my website on my information in the back. Thank you.
Some of you, especially in the front, will notice that we do have a timekeeper, and we will be keeping close watch on the time for the candidates so that we can keep moving along. Now, would you like to come up, please? Our current clerk and recorder.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. My name is Melanie Castle. Most people know me as Mel Castle. I was appointed clerk and recorder yesterday. So I got shuffled into the clerk and recorder's office pretty rapidly. Anyway, I have 2 great staff members that are staying, and I'm very thankful. Trishon will be running the election, and there will be a good representation of all of the people, all of the volunteers that are there. I'm very excited and I have a lot to learn, and it's been a busy day and a half, and I'm sure it's just going to get busier. Thank you.
And finally, Monica Jones, who is the candidate for the assessor and the current.
Good evening. I wanted to thank League of Women Voters for hosting this event. And thank you all for coming out and learning more about the candidates who are running for Park County offices. I am Monica Jones. I am the county assessor, and I am running for re-election. My literature is in the back. I don't have a lot to say right now because 1 minute is pretty short time for me. So please, if you have any questions, I have a great staff who will always answer questions for you, and I'm available any point in time to help out and answer questions for you. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, the three of you. We really appreciate the fact that you are running and taking responsibility for it. These candidates will be available at the end of the forum to meet individually with any citizens who have questions. And Monica mentioned their campaign literature is available in the foyer. So for your information and to clarify the roles and responsibilities of the offices and to introduce the candidates for each of the offices, I offered this explanation. The duties of the county commissioner. The three-member board of county commissioners for Park County works to represent the interests of the citizens of Park County at local, state, and national levels. Commissioners are elected at large from one of three geographical areas in the district in the county for 4-year staggered terms. Selection is for the District 3 County Commissioner. All voting citizens in Park will vote for this office. Colorado state statutes designate counties as a service of the state and to serve as the legislative, policymaking, and administrative body governing the unincorporated areas of the county. The specific powers, authorities, and responsibilities of the Board of County Commissioners include the following. The responsibility to provide leadership to county operations through the adoption of the annual budget, which includes all departments, commissions, and other spending agencies funded by the county appropriation. The power to levy taxes, state tax revenue limitation, and the authority to represent and manage the business and concerns of the county and to care for its property. Candidates for county commissioner are Ashley Roto and David Whistle. The county treasurer is responsible for mailing property tax statements to the owner of record, collecting property taxes, dispersing taxes to the taxing authorities, school districts, cities, towns, and county, and special districts. Receives all monies sent to Park County. Maintain correct and proper accounting of all monies. Dispersing monies for obligations of the county on orders of the county commission. Investing all monies until they. The candidates for county treasurer are Amy Flint and James Stockbridge. The mission of the sheriff department is to preserve the peace, provide a safe community, and to serve the public with dignity, honor, and respect. The candidates for the sheriff office are Thomas McGraw and Mark Noel. October 17th is the day ballots will be mailed from the office of the county clerk in Fairplay, registered voter. So be sure that you are registered. And if you are not sure, sure to talk to one of us tonight and we'll help you figure that out. Okay, my guest services volunteers, we need to have select citizen questions and pencils. We'll need them next week because we'll be doing the same thing in Fairplay next week. And you're welcome to come if you have a lot of fun tonight. The questions that you all have written will be sorted and collated to represent the overall concern. Final questions will be presented to me, posed to the candidate. Tonight's format will be as follows. There will be 2-minute opening remarks by each candidate to include the candidate's statement of why they are running, followed by questions prepared by the lead with a 1 and 1.5 minute response time. After the prepared questions have all been answered, questions from the audience in written form will be addressed as time allows. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer these. A 1-minute closing remark will be given by each candidate to end the forum. The question order will go to the first candidate alphabetically for each of the offices, and then alternating for the remaining questions. The ground rules for the forum were given and agreed to by the candidates. The forum has a timekeeper who will alert each candidate when 30 seconds are left. Then the end time is a red one that sits. And we will strictly adhere to the time limits answers. So we will now hear the candidates' opening statements. And the first candidate will be Ashley Gerardo.
My name is Ashley Gerardo, and I'm running for Park County Commissioner of District 3. I'm a third-generation Coloradan who was born and raised in Grand Junction, Colorado. I have deep ties to rural communities like Silverton, Alamosa, and Dove Creek. I moved to Park County in 2018 when my husband and I first purchased our home outside of Alma. I am happy to say we have fallen in love with Park County. I am running for County Commissioner over the reality that we need someone here to be a leader and a balance on the board. I was raised in a conservative working class family with Southern Baptist morals and values. I bring those same morals and values to the commissioner board if elected. My parents instilled in me the desire to serve the community that I live in. My home is Park County, and I am ready to serve you. I have 15 years of experience in the nonprofit sector and public education. As an educator, each day, I remain open-minded to new ideas. I actively listen to my colleagues and students, just like I will do as your next commissioner. I am running to provide you an opportunity to vote for a moderate commissioner, a fresh voice, and new ideas. I ask you to elect me as your next commissioner because I am running on the county's priorities, not a personal agenda. I am running because I want to serve Park County, not as a career politician, but as a neighbor working us alongside you, so that Park County can continue to move forward and thrive. Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for the League of Women Voters for putting this on.
Good whistle.
Ma'am. Good evening, Bailey and Platte Canyon. It's so nice to be here. I'm Dave Whistle. It's never fails to give me hope and inspiration driving across South Park to come over to Platte Canyon. With my 40 years in the county government as the assessor and 38 years in the water business, I have a great appreciation of this great place we call county. It's my home. It's where I met my wife Lillian here in the audience of 40 years, raised our children. One of my grandchildren is here. Daniel's with us tonight. Pueblo. And I'm really glad and thank you, the Platte Canyon Chamber and the South Park Chamber and the League of Women Voters Circle. Because ladies and gentlemen, I can only be successful through you. The only reason I'm back in the public arena is because I want to make things better. I'm an optimist. I'm a glass half full kind of person. I am not looking at what cannot be done, but what can be done. I have a vision for the future. I have an aptitude for local government and how to make it work for all. I have a vision of this county that I want to impose with your help. The best way we can do that is to put sunshine into the process. We have a closed budget process. It is a very, very archaic and closed-minded groupthink system. My whole goal is to bring transparency and a citizen advisory to the budget, to the county functions, and to the way we treat our folks. Folks, we have a cultural problem.
I am the person, this is the point in my life that we can make a change for the positive. Thank you so much. I humbly ask for your vote. Dave Whistle, Park County.
Amy Flint is running for treasurer. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. My name's Amy Flint, and I am running for Park County Treasurer. I have lived in Fairplay for 30 years now. Amazing. Moved from Sarasota, Florida. Yes, praying for my family who are recovering from the hurt. 30 years ago, raised my children and have been in customer service and financial professions all my life. It's my passion. Customer service, public service, it's just what I am passionate about. It's what I do. It's what I get into. No matter what I do, I like it. Excuse me, a little bit nervous, you guys. I started out in banking when we moved to Fairplay in 1992, between Breckenridge and Fairplay offices, amongst many conversions and bank changes. I loved it. Customer service has always been my forte, but then the numbers, the balancing, the, what do I want to say, continuance of keeping people going. I then took on the job of the eligibility technician in 2001 for Park County Department of Human Services. For 17 years, I was the manager and supervisor of the unit of 6. I trained them, I guided them, and we helped our community with public assistance benefits. I currently work for TBK Bank as the consumer processor, loan processor.
James Stockbridge is our other treasurer candidate. James.
Thank you very much. I'm going to swing over here so I can see diagonally across. First off, I want to let everybody know that bipartisanship is alive and well in Park County. I left my glasses in the car, and I could not get my name tag off to save my soul, and Dave came to my rescue. My campaign is going to be run on basic principles. The first is this government, the government of the United States, established it, which means we're supposed to have civil conversation. And so my conversation will always be nothing but complimentary of Amy, because I believe that she brings a unique set of skills, abilities, and knowledge to the job, as do I, as does everybody else. And so I want to uphold and acknowledge those rather than tear her down. So I think Amy would also. The second thing is, I had an opportunity to speak with Michelle, who is our current treasurer. And I asked Michelle, I said, I believe that money is neither red nor blue, money is green. And that when we go to the ballot, we should not be making a selection, R or a D, we should be making a decision on skill set that either Amy or I bring to the table. And which skill set is it that you wish for money? Because it is your money and our money that is strong. If you take a look at my website, Stockbridge for Treasurer, please put behind that Colorado, because up there's a Stockbridge, Massachusetts. And I take your yep. So look at my website. And pretty repertoire in budget and budget finance. Thank you very much.
Who's next?
Hold on next.
Tom McGraw.
Thank you all. I am Tom McGraw. I am your current chair. It's only got 2 minutes. I'm going to talk really fast. I come before you today with 40 years of experience in law enforcement. I started out at 18 years old as an auxiliary police officer. Then at 19, I became a sworn police officer. So I have 9 years of experience as a patrol officer. I have 16 years in narcotics investigation, anywhere from street level to high level investigations. I have 2 years in fraud. I have 3 years in public corruption, which was fun because I put county officials. I have 5 years in homicide. Then I have 4 years as your sheriff. I have a lot of experience in law enforcement. I've received thousands of hours of law enforcement training, from everything from how to investigate crimes, incident command, tactical situations, a lot of training to receive. I've also provided thousands of hours of training to hundreds, if not thousands, of law enforcement people in firearms training, defensive tactics, and general core study. I also was on a SWAT team for 10 years. Several of those years, I was one of the commanders of the SWAT team. Something to be very, very thoughtful about is that in Park County, the sheriff gets involved in everything that his deputies do. My deputies, they go out, they do things. I come up, I back them up. I go out and help them. Domestic violence, traffic stops, drunk drivers, search warrants. I help them on everything and they ask for my advice on it. So it's very important that you understand that having the experience is very important in a size department like Park County is. The schools, you know, Uvalde, we had a situation that 19 kids was killed. You know, we had a meeting here a couple months ago. All the law enforcement people in Park County were present, and I told all of them, I'm in charge if we have a situation in school. And they all were absolutely happy with that because they know my experience, they know my capabilities. Thank you all, vote for me in November. Bye.
Our other chair candidate is Mark Noel.
Right. Thanks. A law school classmate of mine spent 14 years in Texas prison for rape and murder he didn't commit. The police basically got a confession out of him after. I started off resumes all over the place, but it all began with a sheriff's office in Atlanta. From there, I've gone on to do things. I spent 7 years providing training for first responders. I went to law school. I've been practicing law. I'm now a national expert in technology for investigations, but everything has had that law enforcement thread. And so all this time, all these years, I've been thinking about the kinds of things I've been seeing that have been happening and going on in law enforcement and the ways we can make it better, ways we can do things. And then the Supreme Court started dropping decisions. Everybody knows about them. But one of them was about Miranda rights and curtailing the ability to enforce. One of my instructors, Police Academy, always said that all of those rules, Miranda, exclusionary rule, are there because cops screwed up. Didn't use that, but because the cops did something wrong. But now the courts are no longer going to provide checks and balances on the executive branch the way they have. Not easy. So what we have to do is we have to make sure that the people in charge of every agency at every level, policymakers believe, are going to do the right thing, no matter who. Now, that's why I'm here tonight. There's a lot of stuff to bring here. There's a lot of stuff better. And thanks.
Thank you all, and welcome again. Our first question. My first question for each of you is, what are your goals for your 4 years in the office or seeking? Start with Dave.
Question is, what are my goals for the first 4 years in the office when they're seeking? Well, I'm going to put it simple to that. I'm going to look at the budget. Those are the first things I'm going to concentrate on, because to me, everything begins with and ends with the goes into and the goes out of the budget. And that's something that I have a lot of knowledge on. I've dealt as the elected assessor for 40 years in that. I was on the receiving side. I've been on Tom's side of commissioner actions on budget. I've served with 33 commissioners, 6 sheriffs, 6 coroners, 4 clerks, and 4 treasurers in my time, and they only had 1 assessor. Well, do you think I was just sitting around not looking at that budget? Property taxes are the main driver of the budget. That's the main income for the Park County, period. I know that intimately. I know it better than anyone else in this county. I have an ability to look at things in a complex manner, a complex situation, and explain it in common terms. My water background really helps that. Water people are some of the most experienced problem solvers. I mean, these are the people that make fish ladders to go around reservoirs so fish can survive. I mean, we are talking about people that have stuff here. So I'm proud to be a part of that group. I want to help solve problems, and that's what I'm here.
Ashley, what are your goals for your 4 years?
My priorities for 4 years as commissioner were developed by listening and speaking to the residents of Park County. Affordable workforce housing, expanding employment opportunities, broadband internet access, senior care and transportation, and the maintenance of our roads. Specifically in Bailey, it's not just the maintenance of roads that will be a priority for me, but 285 and making it safer, partnering with CDOT to do so. In addition, Bailey residents have asked, can we get more enforcement of the short-term rentals ordinance so that we can feel safe in our community? The priority of public safety is another top goal I will have in my 4 years. And then the budget. The budget is important. In order to fund the top goals that residents have shared with me as their priority, we must ensure that the allocation of funds represents what the residents of Park County desire. As your Park County Commissioner, I would ensure with an advisory board that that budget is set in a way that represents all of Park County and addresses the needs of everyone.
Mr. Stockbridge, what are your goals for your 4 years?
Thank you, ma'am. I have 2 main goals. Probably the third is the first main goal is to implement and make sure that we've got a full set of internal control. When your money comes into your account, you check to make sure it's arrived in the right amount, and your checks are written that goes out in the right amount, and you're accountable. So making sure that the funds that we get and receive are well accounted for, and that we've got strict internal controls. That's 2 is that we're going to try to leverage the funds that we've got. In a number of these different forums that we've done, I have heard a number of times that we have not, as a county, received all the funds which either at the federal or at the state level. One of that has just been dropping through. And so we need to make sure that we do that. Because we money us, taxpayers at the federal and state level, will benefit. You've heard from both David and Ashley about implementation of budget. I've got a tremendous amount of budget experience. I've budgeted field office level, state level, at the county level, eventually at the federal level, at the Office of Management and Budget, and at the House of Appropriations. I've got budget experience all the way through. A lot of that is about long-term. We need to implement long-term.
What are your goals for your 4 years?
Goals for the 4 years. First and foremost is I keep hearing from people in the know that Michelle Miller has run a well-oiled machine. I want to keep that well-oiled machine going. I want to learn everything that she's done, that going and running as it should. Excuse me. I'd also like to make sure we have a fully staffed office. Right now they are down in staff, and I'd like to make sure everybody's in place so that we can run to the best ability that we can. Training. I'd like to make sure everybody's trained appropriately and adequately, including myself, get myself in and running and doing for that 4 years. I'd also like to be able to be fully equipped for second term and continue. Lost my train. 30 seconds. As I said, our biggest thing is making sure that we continue to do exactly what we're supposed to be doing in the appropriate way, as Jim said. The other thing is looking at the budget again, interest of our assets, of our investments. I've noticed in the 2 years that they've gone down.
Mark Knoll, what are your goals for your 4 years?
Clearly, budget and staffing is a major issue, but that's going to depend on a lot of other people, the entire team, the county government, and all you voters. So some of the other things that I will be looking at are, first, understand I come from a background where I've done a lot of first responder training issues, no such. Second, I come from a background where I've co-founded 2 software and metrics. You can't manage what you can't measure. Got to be able to track a lot more information. We can come back and be able to show you what we've actually done. And what are we actually going to do? Most of the research out there now on policing focuses on 3 areas: effectiveness, efficiency, and fairness. And those are interrelated. If you're not fair to people, then they're not going to work with you. The community policing initiatives aren't work out. You're not effective. But a lot of these things measure. Effectiveness include things like clearance rates, conviction rates, and so forth. Efficiency, work with all the folks here on the budget. And when it comes to community relations, there are a lot of things we can looking at with respect to, are we using our resources, the reserves? I'll be able to show you numbers.
McGraw, the goals for 4 years.
Thank you. Well, the first goal is going to be to provide enough law enforcement to you because right now, as most of y'all know, we're down to 12-hour shifts. I don't have enough manpower to provide 24-hour service for the Park County. That is ridiculous. You know, we have 16 to 18,000 people that live in Park County, and the amount of tourists that come up there, we have to have 24-hour coverage. And the only way to do that is with the funding that I need. I cannot compete with neighboring counties that pay $15,000 to $25,000 more than what my. So the goal is to work with the commissioners, try and get the funding through a tax initiative. However, in order to raise our salary, my starting deputies start out at $51,000 a year. Dog catchers in Summit County start out at $56,000 a year. Housing is another issue. I cannot find housing for my deputies. So my goals is to provide a better sheriff's office for the citizens of Park County and working with the commissioners and everybody else to get the funding to be able to do that. That's a priority. But, you know, right now we're hurting bad. You know, we're relying on up here in Bailey, relying on Jefferson County to send help up here to us. Having one deputy to work, it doesn't work. So we have to get the funding, get our manpower up, keep them here instead of being a training facility and let them go down to the big cities after they've been here for 2 or 3 years. That's my goal, is to provide a better sheriff's office for the citizens of Park County.
Thank you all. Question number 2. What is your top priority goal and your plan for accomplishing it? And Ashley will start.
My top priority is affordable workforce housing. My plan to achieve this goal is rooted in understanding how to make a long-term workforce housing plan. We need affordable workforce housing to hire and retain quality teachers, law enforcement, and firefighters. We need affordable workforce housing so businesses and restaurants can hire an adequate amount of employees to remain open. My solution of a workforce housing plan will be in partnership with the work that the development department is already doing at the county. There is money available, so it is not going to be the taxpayer's burden. At a state and federal level, the government has grants for rural communities that can fund affordable housing projects. As a grant writer myself and nonprofits, I have the expertise to bring to the commissioner board the ability to seek out the highest amount of dollars to gain awards so we can fund the workforce housing plan. In order to strengthen our community, we must have affordable workforce housing. And in order for individuals to move here and fall in love with Park County like my husband and I did, we have to have homes they can afford to buy.
David Whistle.
What is your priority?
Okay. What's my top priority goal? We have such a multifaceted amount of issues I would like to address. Housing is one of them. It will not happen in a pipe dream. It will not happen with something that isn't tangible. As an appraiser, I know the units and ages of production and what it takes to put in any type of improvement. The issue we're having is supply and demand. We have greater demand than we have supply. What happens in any marketable commodity? Price goes up. Now, we've gone through an extraordinary time in our market, ladies and gentlemen, that I have never seen, and we probably will never see again. Never say never. But I think the facets of the budget goes back to how can we better utilize county funds? The county does not need to be and should not be in the housing business. I will not support that. We have partnership. We have the private sector. I'm encouraged in the fact that I was talking to the town manager of Fairplay, and there's a new development on lease discussion for long-term rentals only. 100 units, no short-term rentals. That's, ladies and gentlemen, how we're going to resolve this issue is through the private sector in the market. Done.
You sure have a lot of good ideas. Priority goal and how to accomplish it.
A priority goal, of course, there are a lot of them, but my top priority would be to, again, as I said earlier, make sure we have fully staffed office and trained employees who can succeed others. Wilbur told me that Kathleen Wilson will only be in the office as public trustee. So not only do I need to learn my job and do it well, but I need to make sure our staff is trained that they can succeed, continue to run our well-oiled machine as it should. That's my goal.
Priority goal.
Thank you. I believe that one of the things that we have to do, heard a number of times about the lack of funds for our staff. And if you take a look at our budget, we're not much the way it goes. And I believe that part of the reason we're not doing that is we're not doing the forecasting and the strategic plan, not just in the treasurer's office, that says what our resources are not only now, but are going to be in the next year and the next year and the next year. We have the ability to forecast what those resources are. If we know what the intake is, be able to then come up with a higher priority for our outtake, our budget. You take a look at the budget online for the county. The only thing you see there is a list of them. You don't see what anybody, what each department's priorities are or what their initiatives are. So for instance, the roads department, do you have any idea how much they're going to spend on snow plowing? No. On repair roads? No. We want to be able to articulate what those are. And we ought to be able to put together a long enough term of plan term, so that we can go ahead and when I was the budget officer for Minerals Management Service, that's exactly what we did. Our budget would always look at least 3 years out, so we had an idea what our initiatives were going to be at the field.
Your top priority.
Is continuing with what I was talking about before. It's funding. You know, we had a study done on the sheriff's office about 3 years ago. An outside agency came in, and the reason they came in is because I had asked the county for 10 additional deputies, and they did the study, and the study came back and said he needs 20 more deputies. They should have listened to me with 10, but instead I says I need 20. So, you know, my budget right now, it says that I have 19 patrol deputies, and the study's saying I need 20. I don't know where I'm going to get them at. So along with funding, I mean, if I can get the funding, then there's a lot of stuff comes with the funding, is getting those, the men and women hired to come to work here, to get them to stay here, to get them a good benefit package, to find them housing. People talk about housing. Housing is very important up here. You know, a deputy's pay, his mortgage is $186,000. Any houses out here for sale for $186,000? Not. So the priority is, again, is trying to find the funding to get the manpower, hire people to stay here, and then to provide them with good training. Another issue that we need to have. Training is hard up here in Park County, because where do you go for training? Down the hill. You got to pay for the food, overnight staying down there. So it's hard to bring training up here to Park County. So again, that's the priority, is to find that funding, work with the county commissioner, and get it done. Thank you.
No.
I would say that law enforcement should be nonpartisan, and I think this is a place where you're going to find me in violent agreement with Tom. Budget. We are way underfunded and understaffed. No question. Tom mentioned the starting salary $51,000. In the flume right now, there is an ad from Silverthorne PD asking for lateral applicants, saying their starting salary is nearly $73,000. This is not sustainable, not the way to run. So what do we need to do? We need to pass that public safety. The need there. It's online, you can look at it. I've looked at it. I don't see how you squeeze anything else out. David's right. We're not going to do this with hype dreams. We're not going to do this with wishful thinking. We've got to do something tangible. We've got to raise more revenue, earmarked specifically for the sheriffs. And when we do that, we need to work on the housing. One of the things that I noticed is that there are a lot of grants out there that we are not applying for. Cops at the federal level for community police, hiring new officers, but there's also a state program now starting to pilot with the county where we could get money as a stipend for housing. Really need to be chasing, not leaving money like that.
Thank you all. Now, for our county commissioners, Your question is, are you supporting the county public safety initiative tax? Why or why not?
Ma'am, no, I'm not. And I'll tell you why. We owe you, the citizens, better. We owe you a correct answer, a straight answer, and a truthful answer. And I don't think we've been given that. Now, do I think that, as Tom says, that some commissioner has 3 million running around in their desk drawer? No. But I can tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, until we go through that budget, and I mean all of the budget, not just this year, every single function of that county, look at it from workflow, look at it, what they do for us, how are they doing it? That has never been done. We've been loping along in the same old system with groupthink, no ability for the individual departments and elected officials to even have feedback on where they are within the nation is insanity. And there's no way to improve it. There's no way to improve it except to change the eyes there. So ladies and gentlemen, join with me, help me with your input, our Budget Citizens Advisory Committee to open that onion to look at it. Fund our priorities within our existing revenues, just like our families do. Every family has at least $500 more a month due to Sleepy Joe's inflation. Not to mention anything else.
Yes, I support the public safety initiative. I support law enforcement and the 1% usage tax for short-term rentals, online sales, and goods sold in Park County. From 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., there is no coverage. A 40-minute response time for a deputy to arrive at your home is not acceptable. The lack of coverage and the response time put our most vulnerable populations at risk. Domestic violence takes place during those hours of no coverage. Those individuals need us to pass the public safety initiative so that we can protect all of our citizens. I've spoken with the sheriff and deputies, and they are asking us to pass the public safety initiative. Short-term rentals have increased the amount of calls that they receive. With more deputies, we can address the calls they have, as well as providing safety and protection for us as residents. The Sheriff's Department is asking us, like I said, we as citizens need to step up and pass the safety initiative. I am in support of law enforcement, and as commissioner, I hope that you support those who put their lives on the line to protect and serve us all.
James, what are your ideas for increasing communication and public information about the Treasurer Office?
Thank you. One of the things when I went through the budget to take a look at it, once again, I said that you can't see what the initiatives are. I think there are two fundamental things that every single department in the county should do. They should tell you what their goals and objectives are and what their accomplishments have been. You do not see that in any of the missions. You go and see, if you go to the website, you might be able to find it, but it's pretty obscure. So I would say that one of the things you need to do is either through public communication or elsewhere, every single department within the county ought to have a statement of our goals and objectives are for this year, we accomplished last year, and how we can move forward. I'm not exactly sure of the venue to do that through or the method for communication. Maybe text for individuals who are interested in doing it and doing a blast, text to everybody and say, this is what we're working on. It may be through an enhanced website. So that's a function of what the commissioners are going to have to establish. methods and procedures. Once we get the method.
What are your ideas for increasing communication and public information about the treasurer office?
Thank you. My thoughts, I like Jim's ideas. I agree with him on that. My thoughts initially are to get with these ladies over here, the assessor's office, the clerk and recorder's office, maybe even Dave, but I like the way Dave does his, what do you call it? Evening with the coroner. Some kind of public forum that we can get together and let people know what we do. What do they need? Answer those questions. I've been told that the communication between offices is lacking. Again, I want to get with these ladies, sit down, put our heads together, put our teams together so that we can better serve the public as a team. Because we're all in this together. We're all in the same community. We need to work together so that we can all understand what's going on and maybe fix problems that we don't even know exist. Thank you.
For our sheriff candidates, Mark, what do you see as the most significant safety issue for our county?
In general terms, I think the most critical issue is covering, which is a broad term, but it basically means that we are having a positive impact on public safety everywhere, every place in the county. And when people need help, they can get the right help to them. There are a lot of components. Having more people on the road, having better trained deputies, and better response times is part of it. But infrastructure, too, having better roads is going to increase our ability to get people. Proactive stuff. If you're reacting, you're losing. One of the most efficient ways of getting a lot of bang for your buck in a law enforcement budget, community policing, proactive, helping people harden their own business. This is another way you can have impact. And coverage, again, this is one place where I will agree with Dave. We owe you better. But when I say we owe you better, we have got to get the budget. I hear somebody talk about we're going to do a deep dive on a budget and somehow come up with $3 million that has been hiding from us this whole time. And we admit that it's never been done before. My executive hat says that's not going to work. All right, we need a better. Need to pass that.
What do you see as the most significant safety issue in Park County, and how will you address it?
Well, of course, coverage is a primary issue, but what I see as the biggest safety issue in Park County, these highways out. Every day that I go down the highway, I can probably write 2 or 3 tickets for somebody driving like them. They get up on your rear bumper, they pass you on a double yellow line, they do 20, 30 miles an hour speed limit, and Colorado State Patrol cannot handle the. We need to start working sheriff's office. We need to have the manpower. I propose if you have the definition passed is a 2-man or 3-man traffic unit. One of my deputies, she's sitting back there, as a matter of fact, Nikki Lampman, she got up last summer and I told her, I want you to work 30 days. I want you to write tickets. She wrote 100 tickets, good tickets, speeding tickets. And if we can start being a little bit more proactive, like Mark says, that will make a big impact on our roads out here. 285 is absolutely one of the most dangerous highways in the state of Colorado. Every time that I see an accident on 285, it's mostly because they drift off the road. There is no shoulder to speak of, and off they go. And up here in Bailey, where do they go? Down the hill. So that's something that we need to work on very, very hard to try and slow people down to make the drive a little safer. You know, I don't want to become like Morrison. However, everybody goes to Morrison. What do you all do? You slow down. So maybe a little bit like Morrison. Thank you.
Well, I now have some citizen questions in front that I'll be asking. Oh, it's our favorite. For our commissioner candidates, what is your plan for improving our roads, plowing, regrading, resurfacing? If there was a one, of course. Yeah.
Give the road question to the appraiser. Interesting question, no really good solution. As many of you do know or don't know, where does the money come from for road? It comes from gas tax, license registration, and faster fees. Those great extra add-ons they did not as a tax. So in order to address the lack of modal transportation, we're building bike lanes and bus lanes and stuff that don't have anything, our transportation. You know, so the money comes from HUTF. We have about $6 million. We have a approximately 50% vacancy rate in Road and Bridge, right? I talked to Daryl Evick, the director, about how we can do better recruitment and retention of people. They are working on it. They're not getting much love out of the commissioners, is what I was told, that they are working on.
Roads. I grew up with a father who worked in road construction and is still working in road construction 40 years later. I did not think as a child that I would continue to talk and hear about roads as much as an adult, if not more, running for county commissioner. Like Dave said, it's a hard solution to solve. I met a gentleman in Guffey who his road hasn't been graded as long as I've been alive. 34 years. With that said, road and bridges must have employees in order for us to figure out a plan to fix our roads. If that doesn't happen, my father is retiring next year, so I'm thinking maybe I will invite him up here to fix our roads. Thank you.
For the sheriff candidates, what are your thoughts about enforcing Colorado's red flag law in Park County? Tom McGraw?
That's a great question. We have been very fortunate in Park County that we have a district judge that has common sense. He supports the Second Amendment. We've had one red flag law application come in. And what did Judge Groom do? He called this out. I checked it out, and what it turned out to be was boyfriend, girlfriend living in the same house, and he wanted her out of the house. So he filed a red flag law. And I found out about it. I called Judge Groom, and he says not. That was the end of it. The red flag law, in my opinion, is not constitutional. It is illegal. It does not work. It's a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights. But in theory, just in theory, it's not a bad idea, but it's a bad law. If we have people that are like the man out in Hartselle that went down and killed the people at the Fortune Clinic, if I'd known about him through his wife, the red flag law, I'd have been a good thing. Bad in law. Thank you.
So this is one of the places where Tom and I may part, because I really believe the rule of law is important, and the Constitution of the United States. Anybody who is headed through understands that we have three main branches: legislative, executive, and judicial. In a law like this, where we have to balance public safety against individual rights to keep their arms, there is going to have to be some sort of balancing, and checks and balance need to be in. This law accomplishes that. There's notice and a hearing that substitute process. If someone can convince a judge, especially a reasonable, skeptical judge, that a red flag order is necessary, I'll have to enforce it. Obeying court orders for the rule of law, not for us.
Okay, for our treasurer candidates, James Stockbridge, how can the treasurer aid with long-term planning for growth?
Typically, the way that a treasurer can do that is, which is different than what the budget office does. We can take a look at our revenue and our revenue stream. If they can that in, apply some metrics to that, and based on those metrics, growth in population, increase in price for houses, take a look at those kinds of things, allow us to look back and look forward, same time, to provide some projections then to help them out too.
How can the treasurer aid with long-term planning for future growth?
Okay, I understand what Jim's saying and agree with that. I would say we need to work with all of the other departments, particularly our assessor, who helps with the taxing and applying the mills, and we need to work together on how that's going to affect the tax bills, the tax collection, the application, along with the budgeting. And so I think we all need to work together on that.
Okay, for our commissioner candidates, would you be willing to propose tax increases, and for what? Ashley?
I just want to speak to you about the 2 tax increases that will be on the ballot in November. The Public Safety Initiative, which is a 1% usage tax that short-term rentals, goods and services in Park County, and online sales will contribute to. Second is our lodging tax. That is what I look to support. I am not a liberal Democrat. I am a moderate Democrat. I believe in looking and utilizing the funds that we have, but I do not believe in imposing taxes on citizens of Park County that are unnecessary.
David, would you be willing to propose a tax?
I don't know. Would you like us to propose a tax? I'm not really a tax guy, okay? I'm really not. I said my opposition to the sheriff's 1% tax. Let me address Arnold's. Ladies and gentlemen, the toothpaste is out of the tube when it comes to short-term rental. When the commissioner decided to allow that in any zone, all the break, there's no border. You can put it in an industrial zone. If we had any industrial zones. You can put it in an ag zone. We have those. Put it in residential. And I can tell you, my subdivision lived in Silver Hills Ranch, lived there for 25 years. 201 platted lots, 12 short-term rentals. The issue is enforcement and regulation. I have a lady we met, short-term rental, applied a year ago for her license. Still does not happen.
For our sheriff candidates. In what ways would you be a better sheriff than your opponent?
I'm better dressed. But I hate to tell you, I was telling Tom earlier, after a couple of years of COVID lockdown, that I still know how to dress. And I am also of Jim's school here. I'm not looking to say anything negative. I am just here to say that I have got a very broad skill set that could be put to great here. And I think we can do great things, and there are certainly things we can do better. And I am offering my skill set and my service.
And I told him he was too overdressed for tonight. But I've got 40 years of law enforcement experience. You know, I told y'all what law enforcement experience I have. I think that's the big difference between myself and Mark. I mean, I've read his website. He seemed like a very, very intelligent man. But here in Park County, the sheriff has to know law enforcement. He has to know how to deal with just everything. You know, if this was Douglas County or Jefferson County, where the sheriff is insulated from what goes on the road, he has lieutenants and commanders and majors and captains, different. Here in Park County, the sheriff has to know what to do out here. Schools, if we have an active shooter in a school, I have to know when to make that decision to go into that room and go after that person. And having my SWAT training experience, the training I received from law enforcement academies, that is the most important difference between myself and Mark. I am a cop. I know how to be a cop. I know how to take care of things on the street, and that's my experience.
Well, I'm really sorry, treasurers, but I guess everybody was intimidated by your office and they don't know how to ask you any other questions. So, for our commissioners, your position on increasing term limits, 2 to 3 terms in our. David, you want to start?
You know, I've been around here for 44 years. I served 40 years in the assessor's office. I don't believe in term limits. I believe that happens every 4 years. People are not doing the job. You use the ballot box. Ballot box is the best. In 1992, the people of Colorado led the term limits movement across the union. And we imposed in 1992 an 8-year term. That has been in effect since that time. In 1996, the voters of Park County removed term limits on everyone except commissioners. I believe the existing 8-year term commissioners is appropriate because the end run around it for 12 years is simply self-serving.
I do not think we need to increase term limits in Park County. I think 8 years is appropriate to be a commissioner and get the work done. I think term limits are important because I had a commissioner in another county speak to me about Garfield County over on the Western Slope. They do not have term limits, and they have had the same county commissioner since 1985. So I believe in term limits. I think we have the appropriate amount of years to serve. If the president can get things done in 8 years, the commissioners can get things done in 8 years.
I think that we have come to the end of our question. Let's take a look. Okay. The sheriff's office. How would you plan to incorporate the state requirements for utilizing the mental health specialist in the sheriff's? I don't know if everybody even knows it.
Well, mental health is a major issue. There's no doubt about it. You know, right now when we have, but nobody in here, we have an issue with somebody. You know, if my deputies go out and we have somebody that's talking about committing suicide or is a danger to himself, what we have to do is we put them in handcuffs, put them in our cage, and we drive down up here in Bailey, we would drive down a quarter the mental health facility. And putting somebody that is in that type of condition in handcuffs and in a cage in a car is horrible. It's horrible. Every once in a while we get an ambulance to do it, and it's time down in the stretcher. But we need a mental health specialist. You know, one of the things I want to do if we were to get the tax increase is to have a 24-hour mental health specialist come out and be with our deputies and respond and handle those situations instead of us having to put them in a cage and take them down the hill. Thank you.
I'm not going to try to speak of mental health. But this is a deadly serious problem. And this gets back to the idea of what is most effective and what is most efficient law enforcement. If you show up in uniform wearing weapons, a lot of times that will set people off and you get reactions. And if a caseworker or a psychologist comes up, the STAR program in Denver, the co-responder program in Mesa County, SMART in Summit County, we've got lots of data on this. We know this is good. How do we pay for it? Fortunately, there is a bill in front of Congress right now to add to the COPS program, that is the National Grant Program, the ability to put in grants to get money for exactly these types of bills. It's sponsored actually by Senator Bennett. Looking between state grant money and stuff like that, that's where we're looking at budget.
This is the end of our question. The League of Women Voters and the Chambers thank our candidates participating in this evening and for their willingness to serve all of us in our community. We commend you for your interest in serving. We would also like to thank the audience taking the time to learn what you can about your candidates. Special thanks to the Platte Canyon Fire District for the use of this space tonight, for setting up the chairs for us, and anybody that wants to help us take it down, that would be awesome. And for setting up the PA system. So, we have to let them close. See, I'm ready to close. Okay, we'll start with Ashley, her closing statement. Everybody gets a minute. Thanks, Rob.
Park County is my home, and I want to play an instrumental part in moving the county forward so it can thrive. As County Commissioner, I will listen, learn, and respectfully lead as a member of the Commissioner Board. Voting for me is voting so your voice can be heard and so I can do my due diligence and serve in public office, just like my family raised me to do, so I can be involved in the community I live in and the community I love.
Thank you, ma'am. We have an email amongst each other, and it's so nice to finally. So.
Well, you've met me a couple of times, but no, it was in other circumstances.
Tell me, I believe. I believe. Ladies and gentlemen, crystalfortparco.com is where you can go learn more about me. I'm just a regular guy like you. I moved up here 44 years ago to play rock and roll. I needed a day job. It was the assessor's office. 6 months later, it was the deputy assessor. 10 months later, I was the assessor. Denver 38. Ladies and gentlemen, all I've been ever given is opportunity. I've taken those opportunities and made them to the maximum benefit. I'm here because I want to make Park County the best, whatever that is. The best can make it. I have the skills, I have the toolbox, I have the vision, I have the passion, and I have the desire because I love this place. I love this piece. Thank you, and I'm stopped.
Amy, would you like to?
Okay. I would like to say that I am honored that Michelle Miller and Kathleen Wilson reached out to me and had the confidence in me to ask me to run. That's where I get my gumption. I'm confident, I'm knowledgeable, I love this county, I love fair play, I love our people, and love to be a leader, and I will do it. I'll do it confidently and passionately. Thank you.
I want to compliment Amy. I think she made a great presentation. I think she would make a great candidate. I don't dress as well as Mark does, but I'm okay. Yeah, I do want to say, I really do encourage you folks. You can look at Amy's website. You can look at my website. Figure out who you want to vote for based on the credentials that you see. Don't look at the dean. Here's most important based on who it is that you want.
In 2014, I retired from the state of Florida after over 35 years of law enforcement. My wife, Barbara, she retired from the state of Florida, 33 years of law enforcement. We moved out here, and in about 2018, she was like, you need to get out of the house and go do something. And so I ran for sheriff. And there were 6 of us running. I don't know if some of y'all remember, we had a bunch of debates. Oh my goodness. So, you know, the night of the election, I was taking a nap on the couch. You know, I was retired. So, you know, I had friends call me and says, you're winning. I was like, holy cow, I'm gonna have to go back to work. But I've enjoyed being your sheriff. I am very approachable to people. That's why I dress normal. I'm blunt. I tell you the truth. You might not like it, but it's the truth. I think that's very important in politics, especially be truthful to the citizens of Park County. Thank you.
I just want to leave you with one thought, and that is that everything here is related. The kind of stuff that we're trying to do for the community to improve public safety depends on a county commission, depends on the right amount of revenue. It also depends on the availability of grant money that comes from the state level. But this is how democracy works, how our community works. Everybody we've heard from here tonight is really serious about improving our community. have different visions. We want to make things how we're offering. And lastly, speaking of community, I would like to thank the Chambers of Commerce and the League of Voters for hosting this and giving us the opportunity to speak with you and exchange.
Okay, so now we get to do the interview. It's been kind of a long day, you know, because this morning I suddenly realized we had no parking here.
Because of the.
Yeah, because of the sewage problem. And it was like, oh my gosh, where are we going to put all these people? I spent a good part of the morning making sure that all the businesses up here were okay with you guys parking up there, you know. So, anyway, what a pleasure. What a pleasure. Especially want to say thanks to the fire department for letting us speak. I mentioned that before. This is a great venue. Where else would it be? I guess in the high school, where it was not quite as informal and close as. Want to let you know that there's much more information about all of your candidates, not just our candidates here, but state and federal, on the League of Women Voters website, vote411.org. This is the most amazing website because leagues all across the country have pulled together information from the candidates, information about all of the issues, the pros and cons, and so every county in this country, you can go and find out everything about your candidates and about the issues. Now, isn't that amazing? Yeah. So you just have to go on vote411. Yep. And you can find out exactly what our candidates, we had lots of other questions for them. And for those of you who have not filled out your candidates on vote411, I urge you to do that so that everybody can see what your thoughts. Now, don't forget to cast your votes. Your ballots will be coming in the mail. It'll be in the mail the 17th of October. So be watching for them. Get on vote411 and make a decision about who you want to vote for and what issues you want to vote on. Remember that your vote must be received by 7 p.m. November 8th. You can vote in person. You will be able to vote here in person if you wish, or we have that wonderful little drop box right outside the door here or down at the county building. So you can drop your ballots there anytime before 7 p.m. November 8th. You can also mail your ballot to the Park County Clerk and Recorder, and that information will be on your ballot. Has to be received by the clerk by 7 p.m. on election day. So you can't drop it in the post box at 7 p.m. No, it has to be received by the clerk. So everything has to be delivered for that. If you have questions about your voter registration, you can actually find that on. And there are many other sites you've all seen on the television. There are all kinds of organizations that are giving you information about how to check on your registration. But you can call the Park County Clerk Recorder's office. And at this point, I just want to offer you all the opportunity. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sitting here, being respectful of one another, candidates, and thanking them again for their time. And if you had fun tonight, next Wednesday, we're doing it in Fairplay. So come on over. Thank you so much for joining me.